All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be in the 147-pound division. Terence Crawford ain't hear nothing about Errol Spence Jr. questions, and on top of that, had something, according to reports, had something a little rough to say about Errol Spence Jr. about this fight being made. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to give you another update on the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford saga. This time, Terence Crawford refusing Errol Spence questions, but at the same time accusing Errol Spence of ducking him or refusing to complete the deal and fight him. Now, before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Also, if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter, thank you so much for your continued support. Make sure you hit that like button. You can support the channel through a new way to support the channel called Super Thanks. It's a little heart down below, helps towards the production costs and all of that related to the channel. So it would be appreciated, but let's get into it now. All right, so word out on the street is that Terence Crawford has said, and this time to Blue Blood Sports TV, I've heard the reports around, I read the title, didn't actually hear Blue Blood himself, so shout out to him in his report, that Terence Crawford, he met Terence Crawford at a 7-Eleven, and Terence Crawford said, I'll leave most of the other conversation out, but that Terence Crawford said that he signed his part of the deal, and Errol Spence Jr. refuses to fight him, or refuses to sign his end of the deal. Now, the other thing that Terence Crawford did is that in a recent interview, Terence Crawford shut down all questions related to Errol Spence Jr., which is something that he had not done in the past, that he was open to do, he would talk about, and now he's back to pretty much just shutting it off. So now what we're left with is that Errol Spence Jr. refuses to sign the deal, and I refuse to answer questions about my fight. Now, here's the deal for me. I went over this, whether you signed the deal or whether or not you've agreed to all the terms, right? All of that type of stuff. You have to take, I had not heard Terence Crawford saying, Terence Crawford actually say that out of his mouth because it's not on tape. However, I still maintain that when people say, yeah, I signed my part, I agreed or whatever, that they're talking about having agreed, because it doesn't make any sense that unless you have an actual final agreement, that you're going to sign the agreement until both parties have documented the agreement and you have something that both fighters are going to sign or not sign. So for him to say that Errol Spence Jr. refused to sign the contract, that means that, for me, that means that all negotiations have ended, right? And then now Errol Spence Jr. just absolutely refuses the fight. I don't know what to make of that other than to say I still have a hard time believing that, because of the way that Errol Spence Jr. has progressed through his career. I have to believe that there's something, like Sean Porter said, that there has to be something related to this money, or something related to these, what people consider to be immaterial terms, right? Where that's the word that Mike Coppinger used. And I still believe Mike Coppinger got his report from Terence Crawford's camp, just the way that it was phrased. But the idea that everything is agreed to and Errol Spence Jr. just refuses to make the fight, that doesn't make sense to me, because if that was the case, Errol Spence Jr. could have just moved on and announced another fight. There is very, very little pressure on Errol Spence Jr., or there was very little pressure from Errol Spence Jr. On Errol Spence Jr. to say anything different, to say that he wanted to fight Terence Crawford during the original times that he said that he wanted to fight him. The entire time, Errol Spence Jr. said, look, man, and matter of fact, Errol Spence Jr. said months ago that he accepted his deal. So now you have a battle of who's telling the truth. Errol Spence Jr. and Derrick James both said that they already agreed to everything, and they said they agreed to everything months ago. So now Terence Crawford is now saying he agreed to everything, but Errol has not agreed to everything, or that Errol Spence Jr. has agreed to everything and they came to a complete conclusion, and Errol just refuses to sign the deal. I have a hard time with that. However, if it's true, okay, then let's just move on. No worries. If Errol refuses to sign the contract, then Terence find another fight. And I've been saying this for like a month now, for about a month. I would rather see Terence Crawford fight somebody else and Errol Spence Jr. fight somebody else than not to see either one of those guys fight somebody this year. Now, there were reports that had come out last week that the fight, and this was for Lance Pugmire, very convincing report from Lance Pugmire that said that these guys were, basically just documenting the agreement. And after a few days of documenting the agreement, the sides are going to review and then they're going to sign and move over. Now, that very well may be why Terence Crawford says what he says, that, I agreed to my portion, or I agreed to it. I still don't believe he signed it, but maybe they did have some initial term sheets where he had to put a signature to it before they drafted the agreement. But it's definitely not going to be a binding agreement where you're waiting for the other signature on that same piece of paper to be Errol Spence's. But regardless, maybe he's saying that he agreed to his, and now they're going through that documentation process, and so he's still waiting on Errol's team to get done with what they're doing. That could very well be the case, but if it is or if it isn't, whatever. If they do not come up with an agreement in a very short amount of time, man, let's get it pushing, man. Like I said, I don't mind talking about the issue because this is what's going on in boxing. You know what I mean? It's not like, there's a whole bunch of other fights going on and a lot of other really, like, for an American boxing fan, scintillating situations going on right now that would make this fight, that would basically devalue this fight a little bit, and then maybe put it in a situation where people have to be realistic about it. But whatever the case is, man, let's just go on, man. Just move on. Sign the contract, or not sign, excuse me, document the agreement, stick it in front of people. If there's something that they don't agree with and they don't sign it, move on, let the fight and bring this back up, next year, after they fight, and both of these guys are at 154 pounds, because there really are other fighters in those divisions that deserve to get shots at belts, and that are exciting young fighters, man. And we can bring it on. Guys like Jaron Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, Speedy Rashidi Ellis, old school guys like Keith Thurman, right? We can be making all kind of different fights there, man. And know we got it coming up in November. And then, of course, you got Gervonta Davis said he's going to be fighting in December. They're still going through all that back and forth stuff with Ryan Garcia, which I definitely believe is not going to happen. But whatever the case is, man, let's just get it pushing. Tell us one way or the other, and so we can move on and start talking about the fights that are really going to happen. Even though this conversation between the two probably wouldn't die, they'd probably move up to 154 if that's what those guys do, instead of fighting somebody else at 147. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.